Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live from wherever you are around the world, and welcome to this session called Graphic Design Tips and Tricks. Now, before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create, and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'll be your host for today. And joining me from Sydney, Australia, and my colleague is Senior Solutions Consultant at Adobe, Jason Grant. Welcome, mate.
Welcome yourself. Yes, nice to have you. Nice to be here again.
Awesome. It was great to see you today. Like, we're actually in the office now. You can see by the dual backgrounds we got going here. Actually, he's in the next room over there. How have you been? How's things going?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think today we're going to go through quite a bit of content as well. So I'm hoping that everyone's going to find something in what we're going to go through today. But there's a couple of big aspects we're going to focus on. But yeah, I'll hold back and we'll jump in that soon, I suppose.
Awesome. Well, look, I'm excited to see some of these Illustrator tips and tricks, and some of these have obviously come out at Max, or some tips and tricks that people may not be aware of. So with that, where do you want to start?
Good question. I'm going to jump straight in, and I'm sharing my screen now. So we're going to start with the new update to the 3D tools here. So previously, people might be familiar with the old 3D Classic. You know, it was good for its time, but now we're up into the new and improved 3D materials. So you can get that through, as you can see before. I can get that in the effect panel, but also you can notice it right here. So I've already opened this one up previously, but we're going to start on the 3D tools. I'm going to show you a few examples. Also going to show you a couple of, maybe hopefully some parts to inspire you as well. And then after we do the 3D, we're going to jump over to Vectorise and Artworks. So we're going to do the two different things today, at least. And then always good to finish it with a bit of dessert. So we'll see what we can do towards the end, and maybe give a couple of extras as well.
Awesome. Love a bit of dessert.
Yes. So I'm going to just jump straight into this. What I want to do is do a quick example of just showing you through the interface first, and then we're going to jump into some real examples here. So I've jumped over. I'm going to just grab a tool here. So I've got my star here. So I'm just drawing out this, and this is really just so I can show you a quick interface as well. One thing I did notice when you're drawing a star here, this is something I learned while I was playing around. If you hold down the Tilda key, look at this. I've never seen that before. I thought that was amazing. Yeah. So again, like each one is a star in itself.
Tips and tricks. That's awesome. I wonder if that effect works with other things such as text or other shapes. I'm sure it would. So
yeah. I think so too, but I think it blew my mind. But anyway, have a quick star here. So jumping over to the 3D panel over on the right. So you can see here, you've got the 4 different options available. So the plane, so you can see here, has a preset as well. So there's different presets depending on what you're looking for and so forth. You can always customize these on top, so which is really useful. I'm going to just keep it to the basics. So here, plane, you want to keep the vector object in its same state, but you want to give it a slight twist. That's where a plane can come into play. There's the extrude function. Okay, we've got this on 0, so let me just pump that up. So you can see here as well. So I've got an outline as well. So you can actually, that white outline, that's giving me that grey shadow throughout. So when you're playing with 3D, it's going to muck around with the shadows, but we can play with the light in towards the end.
And another question.
Yes.
I was going to ask you a quick question. So can I adjust the angle of this, or maybe even make it a different, area in which to look at?
Yes, absolutely. So here you can see I can actually has the tool in the middle itself, the bullseye, so to speak, but also down the bottom. So if you like to do things manually, so here if I hover over this axis, then I can actually go around, play with that, and same with that one as well. And of course, the rotate. So you can do it, but also you can do it down the bottom under the rotation aspect. So you can play quite a bit around this. Another thing too, and I don't know if you've ever played around with this. You see the fill and the stroke. If you always hold down Shift X, it rotates between the two. So another tip just for the diehards. But yeah, you can always play around with that as well. So the extrude, that just pushes it out. So normally when people are creating content, they use a lot of this, the extrude, revolve. You know, there's a whole range of different tools they actually use to create content. The next one here is the revolve aspect. So you can actually see here, almost looks like a seating arrangement. If I pull that back, you can actually see how it works now.
Wow.
So you can actually see how far it goes. So again, it's really up to you. You can also do the offset, so you can make it bigger. So really, I mean, there are so many different options in how you can actually play with this. The next one, inflate, right? So you can actually see it has a nice picture of a balloon, but you can, I've played with the depth, and that just puts, you know, a bit of chunk in it. But you'll see when I actually, I will put this on inflate both sides. But when I put a material on top of this, then it will cover that up. So it may have the white sort of stroke through here, but as soon as I remove that and put a material on, it's going to disappear as well. So there's quite a few different options you can play around with, depending on what you want. Today, we're mainly going to play with extrude as well. So
I got a question for
yes.
the inflate function. I'm just going to put my After Effects cap on here. So could I do something like that, inflate that star, and then take that file into After Effects and potentially animate that? Maybe make it look like a balloon flying?
Absolutely. There's no reason. So again, these are vector objects, so you can do quite a lot. But yeah, you can definitely put that in. And most people, there is a very strong workflow between Illustrator and After Effects, where, you know, if you use your layering and all that, and how you set up your Illustrator files, you know, you can import that over into After Effects and take it further. Because yeah, we always want to make things move as well. So just going back here, so we have the depth as well. So here you can actually have it full, or you can hollow it. So maybe like a glass, you may use it for something like that. So you can actually see, how that's just a hollow object through here. I'm going to just keep it capped. You've got bevels as well that you can always play with. I'm not going to bevel today, but you can play around with that. And we also touched on the rotation aspects as well. But I think what's really great about this, I mean, like, it's really super easy and quick to actually do this and play around to get that right angle that you want to do. But the next part is the material aspect. So that's where we're starting to bring into play some substance materials, which is our 3D application as well. So you can bring in that, and I'll show you how quickly you can also do that. So they do have a whole range of preloaded substance materials, and if I hit maybe gold on this example, you can actually see how that comes into play as well. So we've got gold leaf as on top, but if you were looking for something that's quite unique, there's two buttons down here. So I'm going to zoom so you can actually see these two little buttons here. What you can do, and if we hit one, oops, we've already preloaded one, so let me just go back to it. The first one here, it will open up the substance assets as well. So there's a whole range of assets that you can start to download. And additionally, the second button, which was right next to it, the second button with the person, that one, we can actually, go back, that one has community assets as well. So you can actually start to use the community textures and start to incorporate that into it. And there's a whole range available. So what you would have to do is download this and then add that into it. So it's quite very simple. So once you've downloaded it, you can see here, I can hit the plus button, and depending on where my substance materials are, I can then load them in as well. Once they do load in though, they will come up here. So you can actually see your materials. So I've got everything here. So I've got cheese. I've got a whole range of different ones that I play around with as well. Each one has its different properties on top. So here where you can start to customize it depending on what need you are looking for. So you can see I can actually alter the color itself. there's different functions that are relevant to each texture itself. So in this instance, you can see I've got scales, and you can see all the flex and so forth throughout this texture. So you can come in here and increase it, remove it, depending on what you're looking for. It's really has that flexibility throughout. Like if I open up the next one, which is the bathroom tile, you will see I can go into the grout itself. So it has the tile gap, how many tiles, all that stuff. I can actually go in, how grimy it is, all these little textures throughout. I can go in and customize that as well. So it gives you a huge range of what you can actually do. And this within Illustrator, it's amazing how you can actually play with this. So I think it's really good.
So each of those materials that we're talking about substance here, so the 3D component to this, each of those materials have their own properties embedded into them. So when you bring them into Illustrator, you can still alter them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So you can see here, I can increase the dirt, or I can clean it, depending on how much you want. If only cleaning was as simple as this. But yeah, you can go into things and do it really, depending on the material. I think that's one of the benefits of the substance materials, is that they have these parameters that you can customize on your own needs. So it has a very nice base, but really, not everything comes straight out of the box. You need to customize it to whatever design requirements you have. So that's where all of this comes into play. And then depending on what you're looking for, lighting and so forth, this is where you can start to play around with it. So, the intensity, even the direction of the light itself. So you can see as I slowly move it around, it will change that direction as well. And if let me just turn the shadows on so you can actually start to see here. So you got behind the object. I'm going to put one below so you can actually see. So even when I rotate, there we go. From morning to night. So yeah, you can really change that, the height as well. So you can see, it gives you a whole range of different ways you can actually play with this on top.
So there's a question that's come in, Jace. Do you need to pay for the different 3D textures?
So there is quite a lot that are available, and the community, that's open sliver. So yeah, go into that, have a look, and you will find quite a lot as well. So yeah, I think it's a great base. You can, whatever you're playing around with, I believe there should be something there available for you to trial. Again, you've got different presets here, and then next to this is the ray tracing, right? So I'm going to hit the button. It will take a little bit of time, but you will start to see the detail. There you go. You can see how much more crisper it comes through as well. There are a few parameters that you can play around in the lighting function, but it does give you a really great base that you can actually start to customize certain things through here. So, but that's just a quick taste of what's available. I know designers are looking at it and go, well, how can I use this? So I played around with this one here, and I think these are nice, simple examples that you can easily make what is like a nice text available, but then you can actually give it that little bit of dimension to it as well. So if I hit extrude on this, let's just you can see here.
I like that. I really like
subtle. One thing I do want to show too, though, is each one of these objects is individual by itself. So this hasn't been grouped together, right? So you can actually see if I group this now, and when I extrude, it actually gives you a different, it keeps it, it's using that as the center point, and everything's rotating in relationship. But when you don't group it and you do extrude, then it does it individually. So just keep that in mind if you are doing a group or not, that it will, there are relations how that actually plays with as well. But yeah, I think this is a great example. One thing too, I have noticed too, is that you do have to go in individually. So if I wanted a set example, I do have to, after the initial one, I will have to go in and customize that as well. So, depending on how much you want to do it, you can actually go in and play and tinker around with it even further. But all I would do from here is I would find a nice example and then start to give it that base texture here, so that the rasterized print, and then give it my own flavor as well, and then hopefully I've got a nice a little bit more to my my original vector object as well. So I really like it with text, and I have seen people, they've done it with even pizza graphics and so forth. So you can actually, it's really, use your own imagination on how far you want to take it as well. Here's one that I also played around with just quickly. So I had the original object, right? And you do need to make sure, keep in mind how you set up your vector objects as well. So this is a logo that I have available, and each one is by itself. Now, when you are extruding it, I've made sure that it's a group object as well, because otherwise it will extrude everything, in relationship to how it's punched out and so forth. So I took a bit of time and made sure I kept things in groups as well. And also with this example, you have a variety of different shadows and highlights as well to the vector object. So when you're doing a 3D texture to it, it does have its own natural shadow and lighting that also comes on top of that. So you can lessen some of the effects. So here I've just done this really quickly, but you can see how I've done it as well, and I can play around with this as well. And back to that point with the 3D text, whether it's grouped or not, you do also need to keep that in relation as well when you do play around with it. So, where does the position of certain objects sit relative to how it is in that 3D plane, so to speak.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you've essentially layered different aspects of the line on top of each other, then grouped them individually to get that 3D effect, and obviously adding the extrude 3D element.
I'm a bit of a fan for the extrude, but yes, definitely. But that was a quick taste of 3D. Hopefully it gives everyone enough ammunition to go out there and have a trial with it. Like I said, I like text, but I'm hoping that other people will find some more unique use cases around it, more than the pixels.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it is 3D, and not many people, especially traditional designers, they don't really think about how they can give a bit of dimension to an object, or even text, to add that extra bit of something different that people will interact with. That's really cool. Just reminder, anyone who wants to ask any questions, pop them in the chat, and I'll be sure to ask Jason some more questions.
Awesome. Okay, so 3D text. The next one that we want to show is how to vectorize, and all the options that you have around that. There is so much you can do with the vectorizing. I really enjoy playing around with this one, and I have an example that I've been playing around, so you can actually see I've done a bit of tinkering already. So I've got a quick question, Jace.
Sorry to interrupt you, but for the beginners on the call, people who are not familiar with what vectorizing is, can you just kind of give them a bit of a rundown?
Yes, 100%. Okay, so a vector is line art, so to speak, in the simplest term, right? So Illustrator works with vector objects. So when you zoom in, you will see a very crisp, straight lines and so forth, and curves throughout your vector artwork. With Photoshop, it particularly deals with rasterized images, JPEGs, all that stuff is a rasterized imagery. What that means is, and this is from Photoshop. This, I know it looks a little bit, but you can see as I go up, the closer I go in, the more bitmap and the rasterized the image becomes, right? Which is no good when you want to put it on a large scale object, right? You don't want something like that unless you've got a very high quality image in that. So all logos, and I am going to say this, all logos will have a vector option, okay? Because you always need it to be crisp. The last thing you want is your logo to look like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we have like a just simple example here. I'm going to click this one. I'm going to just hide this. Now within Illustrator as well, you will see it has a fairly intuitive sort of properties panel. So it would recognize, okay, once you have an image selected, you may want to embed it into your artwork, edit it in Photoshop, whatever it may be. In this example, image trace. So you can hit image trace will show up here. It also has, depending on how you set up your workspace, you can set it up the top. I'm going to hit image trace through here, and it has a few different options. There is a panel as well, so I'm going to open that up because panels always make it super easier to look at things. And let's just go down to.
Are these your drawings, by the way, Jason?
No, I'm not that talented. So I have gone in and used a few different options through here. So I've drawn this out, and now let's go in and zoom in on this object here, right? So now I'll just go through quickly the panel itself. So you can see the different options here, right? So once I've done it, I can filter around different ways. So I can play around with, okay, let's say low fidelity photo. We play around with this. It will re-render it, but it will try to bring in the colors and so forth on this. So this is where you play around with the different options. I've got an example that I'll show exactly where I've done each example with one object as well. So here you can see it slowly working out all the differences around it. And also you can see here the paths, colors, anchors, all that is also included in this. More anchors and that, the bigger the file will become. So there is quite a lot available through here. I will show you how you can simplify your path at the end to make it a lot less. Also, you can go through here. There's the advanced tool. So you do need to play around with all these different functions to work out how you want to do it. So that's the one with the color. So that kept some of that color background throughout, and it's done an amazing job. And now, before when we zoomed in, it was all pixelated. Now it's clean and crisp.
That's really good. So does that mean I can edit some of those line work in there if I wanted to make some like subtle changes to it, remove some, add some? Absolutely,
yeah. So like I think the threshold button through here is quite helpful too. So that will depend on the image quality. That will let you play around with how you actually want to do it. So always play around with this. But yeah, now the world's your oyster, the vector diagram's your oyster, and you can do whatever you want to it. So now you can actually customize it and add whatever color you want to this as well. So it's really, really amazing what you can do here. I'm going to also quick example as well, because I've already pre-baked something. So this is an image. You can see here, I vectorized this one. This is the black and white function, right? So if I go in and go in, select that. So you can see this is still under the image trace, right? I do need to expand that image to get the vectors, right? So I'm going to show you this one here. Now, you will notice over on the right, it has a little eye tool. So I can actually turn that on and off. Actually, that's not a really good example. Let me use this one. I turn this on, so it will show you the original image in the background. So you can always check where it's at. There's a few different other options that it will show you, but just to go back and forth to see what has been vectorized and what you may have missed in that image, you can play around with this. And then that way you can maybe have to either increase the threshold to get more detail or decrease it depending on what you're thinking. So you can start to play around and fine-tune how well it vectorizes throughout. So really useful. Once you've done it, you would expand it, and that will give you your final vector object to go in and do whatever you wish as well. So really great tool. I find it really useful. And as I mentioned before, there's a few examples. So I've gone through here. I've gone through the list. My original, It's fairly low quality Photoshop document here. So I've gone in and played around with different things. You can actually see the high fidelity photo. And if I turn on and off, you can't even see the difference between that. And that again is the vector. So this is low fidelity. So you can start to see some of the detail has come out of that one. And then colors and all that. So again, the more detail in your illustration file, the more you have to go in and the larger the file itself will become. So, you know, more colors and anchors and paths and so forth will increase the file size itself.
So Jason, there's been a question that's come in. So can I do that vectorize with sketches from my sketchbook?
Yes, and that is such a good question because I will gonna segue into my next one very soon as well. So here I've gone through, and I won't bore you because there's a question waiting, but yeah, black and white. So again, play around with the thresholds till you get what you want. So you can see here how quickly things can change. Black and white, grayscale, color. So each one has its different variants. So you can play around with all of this as well. Now, back to the question that you recently brought up as well. And I'm just going to open up my device here. So I have my device as well. Illustrator itself on the iPad has this as well. So here you can see I've got an image through here. If I go over, and I've simply placed this one from, you know, whether you use your camera or so forth, but I can go in here and once I select it, I can vectorize this as well. And I actually like some of the function it does through here. I really like how well it does, but I'm not changing this too much, but you can see here, even if I do say logo, so you may sketch out a logo, whatever you may sketch, you can use that here and start to,
you're doing all this on the iPad, right? This is, so I could essentially have the iPad, be in Illustrator, sketch something up, get it to a point where I'm happy with it, and then vectorize it on the iPad.
Yes. Yeah. Or on paper.
Why am I not doing that now?
Yeah, you can see here, you can use your camera, take a photo, and I'm going to show you another tool as well that can also do this on top. So there's quite a lot that can be done through here, but I find it really amazing. And again, you still have the eye that you can turn on and off.
Yeah.
And like, if I go down to painting, and let's see what that does before I jump over to the next one. But yeah, it's amazing how well it does. And why I like this one, like you can see here, if I turn it on and off, you can just see the difference between that. And I haven't tweaked anything. But yeah, it's really amazing what can be done and how easy it is to vectorize a whole range of different things. If it is a photograph, I would recommend to go into Photoshop and play around with the contrast and, you know, try to beef up the clarity and all that through that image as much as possible before you start to vectorize it. Yeah, because it will bring in shadows and everything through that.
You stole my question. I was going to ask you, can you do this with photos? But so you're saying to just clean up the colors and the clarity before you take it into vectorize it.
Yeah, definitely. It will make a big difference. I have also seen other people as well. They also put filters on top of it, like stamp and so forth, to give a black and white effect as well. So you would require a little bit of work to do this. So now, hopefully, while I was talking, and I'll go back, I've opened up Adobe Capture. So I'm hoping everyone's familiar with Adobe Capture. It's an amazing app. You can see here. So discovery down the bottom here, but you can see right up the top. So this links into your libraries, right? The Adobe Illustrator on an iPad, that will create documents as cloud documents, okay? Which means that as it's a cloud document, when you're on your desktop, you can open it up and continue working on it there. With Adobe Capture, this will save design elements into a Creative Cloud library. Then you can open it up in Illustrator and do what you have to. What I wanted to highlight today, and I'm going to come back and show another quick example here, is the shapes. So right in the middle, shapes. Again, I can go in and now it's using my camera. So here I have a book through here. I can go in and take a photo, depending on what I want, and I can start to go in and change that and edit that as well. But there is quite a lot of different functions throughout here. So, you do have little color elements as well. So if you wanted to go in, you can still go in and play with different colors. Whole range of different elements as well. So you can actually see here, I can go in, adjust with the threshold as well. And the very last button, you can actually see that there's exposures as well on top. And there's also a few different filters on as well. So the pixelate, the comic book, so any photo. So if you don't have this, you can load your own photo. So take a photo as you're walking past, you can load this in as well, and then start to, play around with different effects as well. So really interesting. There's so much you can do through here, but I find through here it's amazing. So if I'm happy with this, I can save this. It will save into my library, and then I can open this up and then further edit this in Illustrator. So you can see here. Save that.
Capture is one of those apps that you don't know that you need it or want to use it until you've used it. It's such a powerful tool. And if you're out and about and you get inspiration, rather than taking a photo or writing something down, use Capture for that. And just as Jason said, you can have it feed into your libraries, and if those libraries are shared with your team, they'll see that as well. They'll see the inspiration come through, which is again, collaboration, very powerful tool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I mean, it's a really great way to play around with different things, and hopefully, simple designs, maybe it's a silhouette of someone standing up, whatever it is, it's really up to how far you want to take it. But Capture, Illustrator on iPad, they're amazing how far they can go as well. But the desktop is still the mothership, so to speak, that drives a lot of it as well. Do realize too, InDesign, Photoshop has Capture built into it as well. So you will find when you're working on imagery, you go down here. If I had an image selected and I hit the plus button, in this example it doesn't work, but in Photoshop or InDesign, it will open up the Capture functionality, so you can actually do something from within them tools as well. So InDesign and Photoshop. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, with just on that, and I'm sure it may be a feature that comes into Illustrator in the future, but the fact that you can use any type of photo and then, get patterns, particular color grades from it, to get down to, the right granular aspects of each element that you're trying to capture, it's very powerful in that sense, because gradients, I think, what else is in there? Gradients, colors, color wheels.
Materials, 3D materials. So again, there's no reason why you can't use that material and bring that into, Illustrator as well. So there's materials, there's color palettes, which actually leads to my next, it's a very nice segue, to the next part. So they're the main two that we want to show, the 3D aspects as well as the image trace aspects. The next part I do like to bring to everyone's attention is color.adobe.com, right? This is a tool that's always been around. Maybe it's not as familiar to a lot of people, but if you go into all apps and you go onto the web, so you will see there's fonts that are included, and Behance and so forth. Color, which opens up this as well. So again, all of this does also save to libraries. So, your libraries can save here, but you will see there's a whole range of different ways you want to play with this as well. So they do have these ways of playing with the color harmonies on top. Customize, you can add your own. But what I want to show, I'll start here with the explore functionality to help for inspiration here. So you can see they've extracted colors out of all these photos as well. So you can see how well they've actually done on this. And there are amazing color palettes that you can actually play around and customize as well. And then even on top of this, they have trends. So depending on industry, you can actually see different trends that are, quite popular at the moment. Maybe, if you want to buck the trend, I suppose go and use it from a different category. But, you can actually see that there's a range that you can actually use as a base and then start to customize it as well. So if I go in and maybe select one, like just go over here, and you can see here I can add this to my library. I can download it, depending on what you want to do, get the CSS and so forth. But here I might just start to play around with this here. Now, the main reason why I want to show this color palette here is because of the accessibility tools that are also available through here. And this is new, that has only just come through as well. So you can play around with these color palettes and actually see how well that works. So you can actually see here, if I start to play, and you can actually have the preview of say regular text and large text or graphic components. You have a pass, and the more you alter that, you can actually see if this is works with, you know, color impaired or you know, people with color blindness and so forth.
Very powerful.
They can play around with different ways that they can actually see as well. So yeah, it's really amazing. So here, the color blindness, here it shows the rule. It actually shows the different, you know, different color blindness variants and how that actually appears as well. So you can really get into deep detail of how that color palette works with, you know, in an accessible world. So really amazing sort of tool that's available. So color.adobe.com. It's all available. Save your color palette if you're happy. Once you do pass the accessibility tools, then you can actually start to incorporate that as well.
Awesome. Hey, a couple of questions have come through. We'll start with the latest in terms of color, then I'll go back to the shapes question. But what color trends are you looking forward to or into at the moment? It's a good question.
Oh, that is a very good question. I think what we've started to see as well is, I think after 2 years of lockdown, I think everyone is just busting to get out. You know, there's a lot of energy about trying to get out and so forth. So I think a lot of vibrancy in colors is really what people are, you know, gravitating towards. So yeah, I think play around with that, because, you know, it's, you know, it feels like we've been locked in our room for a long time now. So I think everyone wants to get outside, enjoy nature, enjoy, you know, what the world has to offer in a, you know, in a new light, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate. I think I just agree with you in terms of the high vibrancy types of colors. You're starting to see them a lot out there, especially like kind of gradient, chromatic types of color. But you know, the really high sharp, I think you have like a pinkish photo up there earlier. We're seeing that a lot, and I actually don't mind that kind of high energy type of colors. Just as you're doing that, another question: could the shapes tool in Adobe Capture, as you're in Capture right now, be used to create custom brushes, like, you know, stamp brushes, for example?
Shape tools, yes. Well, actually, if you go right down the bottom, there is the brush palette itself. So what I would recommend, and maybe this isn't the best example, would be to maybe just draw on a blank piece of paper a brush, because I can turn anything into a brush from here. So I can turn an image into a brush, that maybe draw what your idea is onto a piece of paper, and then use this app to actually convert that over to a brush that you can use in a day-to-day basis. But yeah, there is no reason why you can't. So what I have done here, keeping with the theme of colors, is, sorry, I did yell that out, was actually...
I heard you from the next room, mate.
Was it here, the color app, and I find this amazing. Like, okay, I have a nice image here. I find it amazing how well it picks out these harmonies as well. So if I go back, and even with, look at this, it's a grey desk, and, you know, it's amazing how it brings out certain color palettes and how well it picks it up. So even when I start to go around the room, and I would have to look at that image, and there's nothing spectacular about it, but you can actually still go in. I can still alter my settings through here, but if I'm okay with that, now I can go in. I can also play with different harmonies as well, which goes back to that previous example as well. So you can still go in and customize it. and then we have a look at our original image, I may want to, okay, well, there's too much orange, or pour another color into that palette. So I can still come in and customize this as well. So it's a really great tool for color palettes. Color.adobe.com and Capture. I think it's one of these little gems that people are not familiar with.
So I noticed on the screen as you were doing that, it said tap to freeze, tap to unfreeze. Is that basically, does that allow you to lock in a particular thing if you're happy with where it is? Is that what that is?
Yeah. So you can pause for a sec, and you can actually then maybe reshoot, so to speak.
That's brilliant. On the iPad.
Right up in the top right corner, you will see there is the image. So again, if you've taken a photo, right, and it's not like, hey, I need my Capture app to do it, you can always download that from your camera roll, Creative Cloud, whatever it is. So you can actually easily pull out palettes from there as well.
Cool. Okay, I got a really good question here. I like this one. It could segue into something you might be showing, but we'll see. What's an underrated trick in Illustrator?
Oh, okay. I will show this because you're right. It is definitely underrated. I'm going to go back to my canvas here, and I will remove this. Okay. And if I draw a couple of shapes, just very random, go here, and I'm hit my short keys as well. So okay, let's use a palette. Oops. And another color. So okay, 3 different colors, the 3 different palettes. 3 different objects. The shape builder tool. So maybe you would use punch. You would use your Pathfinder tools previously. Punch things out. Do whatever it is. Minus front, minus back, all of that stuff. The shape builder tool is amazing, right? So here you can plus, and all it is if I select it and join that, there it starts to join. Again, hold down the option, it will remove that. So again, you can remove objects, you can add objects together. It is a little tool that previously, and I will admit, I was one of the guilty ones that would, click on the Pathfinder tool till the cows come home. But yeah, I really enjoyed the shape builder tool.
So you can pretty much stack shapes on top of each other, or anything that you're building out, and then create your own shapes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would have done a whole range of different things, see what worked and what didn't. I think the shape builder tool is really useful as well.
Yeah, I remember back when I used to work in the corporate world, and when it came to using the Pathfinder tools, I just never really got what I wanted. It was just really hard to get it to that spot. I used to waste so much time on that, but that shape builder tool, that's definitely a time saver.
Yeah, I think it's a really useful tool. Start to incorporate it in your workflows, and you will start to, save a lot of time, hopefully in the end. Another area and you can stop me because I'll keep going until
keep going, please.
until you pull my plug, so to speak. But the next one I was going to show too was back to our iPad here, is with Aero and Illustrator. So Aero again helps with, and I'm going to create a new one. So you can see here, it helps create augmented experiences. All right, I'm back on my table here. So if I select the ground plane, which I've done quickly here, I hit plus, there are a whole range of starter assets. So please download Aero so you can actually start to see. It's trying to make it so much easier for people to create these sort of experiences. So it makes it, there is not a whole range of code that you have to incorporate throughout. But you will see here, I can add in objects. So they have a few examples. You can add in layered Illustrator. So if you're using layers, right? So if I have that here, I'm going to.
So this is an Illustrator. This is an Illustrator file that's been separated out by layers. Yeah.
That's right. So I have, so I'm going to select this. Now let's just make it a little bit bigger here. You can see here, right down the bottom, you will see there's a few different tools. If I hit layers, right now what I can start to do, split that out. So now when you walking around, okay, it is a illustrated document, but now you can actually walk through and maybe take a seat on that lounge or so forth. But then you can also add in like triggers and so forth on top of that. So if I say, it's a quick example, I'm going to have this as a tap, and then maybe let's just have it as spin. Oops, delay.
So you can, so correct me if I'm wrong here, you're selecting specific layers that can have different behaviors?
No, it does do it as a group.
Yeah, okay, a group, yeah.
Yeah, so if I go in here now and if I hit touch, so now it will spin around twice, back and forth. And hopefully that makes everyone a little bit dizzy, but yeah, you can see actually, well, and look, I like how it's even got the little shadows as well on top of that. So,
that's
it's a nice little tool that, a lot of people maybe not so familiar with as well.
And what I love about augmented reality, and if people are not thinking about augmented reality in putting it into their workflows, you should really look into it, because it's a different experience, especially for your clients. If you're building out something like what Jason's doing now, rather than a PDF or print out piece of paper. I mean, paper. Who does paper these days? Show them an augmented reality experience. You can share that with them as well. They can download the Aero app and even do it from their app itself and actually see what their design that you've done for them looks like in the real world, which is extremely powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? I'll just turn that off so I don't make everyone dizzy.
I think we just got about 10 minutes left, by the way, Jace.
Okay, that's great. So I agree. I think it's so much more of a, interactive experience if you, maybe let your client, if you have a design, let your client, you can anchor this to certain objects. So why not put it against the wall? Why not show them that experience? Why not project it on on the meeting room table, on the boardroom table, put the design out there, let them walk around and explore it in a real, interactive environment. So I think it's amazing how far you can actually do with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a question has just come through about augmented reality. So what uses of AR are you most excited about? Perhaps even underrated uses?
Uses of AR that I'm excited about.
I've got one, so I'll go first.
Yeah, no, I have seen some wonderful examples within the education space, especially. And it does go back to we're all fairly, we all like to be involved or, in that experience. So I think they've done it really well in that. Why not have it and that people can touch, and click and walk through experiences and get further information around that. So I think that's really great. I've seen it even done in medical examples where, it's put an augmented person, so to speak, and you can have a look at the skeletal structure and the muscles and all that. So there's so much that can be done throughout. So yeah, there is some amazing stuff that can be done.
I feel like I've seen something like that on some sort of futuristic TV show or movie. I know I've seen something like that. But I had a thought. Yeah, exactly. I had one of the things that I'm excited about is, like digital museums. There's already some museums out there where you literally walk up to it and it's a QR code and you pull out your phone and you are then gifted with an experience of augmented reality that has been created by that artist, and you're now having an experience with that artist. Now I think, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the digital artist Beeple. He's just done a digital museum, and he's kind of going through down that road, especially with NFTs and things like that. But very, very powerful.
Yeah, I think we're just starting on that journey of these, digital galleries, so to speak. And
Yeah.
why wouldn't, instead of having printed image up on your in your living room or so forth, why not have it as a screen which can constantly evolve and change and so forth and move even, So yeah, there's so much that can be done through here.
Just don't go putting QR codes up in your living rooms. That'll be a bit weird. 5 minutes left. What do you got for us now, Jace?
Okay, I did quickly brush over this when I was doing the image trace as well. So, when you go through here and, if you expand out, and I was going to use this example, in object, if you go down to path, simplify, right?
This would be something that if you have like a lot of points, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
You have large amount of points through here, so you can see here simplify, and it shows you what sort of does. Now a lot of the tools and that are trying to make sure they create less and less points around curves and so forth. So really trying to reduce what can be done through here. This is another tool as well, and you can actually see here if I bring this down, and I've actually done this a few times. So it's actually not too bad, but you can see the original, I'm dropping the points, and you can actually see in the background, well, maybe you can't, but you can actually see in the background if the points are changing or so forth. So you can actually see how far it goes. I can show the original, there's all this function that you can actually bring down how many points you use through here.
So that I was just going to say, have that back up, but that was saying, from 43,100 points or something down to 41,000. So it will automatically do that for you.
Yeah, it will simplify here. This might be a better example because I haven't done this one before. Okay, so the original is 40 at 75%. This has got 29, so it's already got 10,000 points. And if I drop it down another, again, so that's down to 26,000. Again, I can show the original point path. You will see it will show up as red, so you can actually see where it's come through. Just takes a little bit of time, but yeah, you can really simplify it quite a lot. So again, it's not half yet, but it's getting there, and it makes it a lot more easier. And quality-wise, like you'll be battling to sort of find what has changed and what hasn't. So if I undo, you can see slight difference. But yeah, I think, and especially if you want, we have a lot of clients which have large Illustrator files, technical files, and so forth, and this is where this can come into play as well. So awesome. Have a play around with that.
That's really cool. So, Jason, I think we're at time. Thank you so much for showing us all these tips and tricks. That was really exciting. Some of the things in there that I didn't even know that I'm really excited to test out. For those on the line, thank you for joining us. Please tune in to us on Thursday, where Jason's going to take you through some XD tips and tricks, and I'm really excited for that. But other than that, thank you again for your time, and we will see you on Thursday. Bye-bye, everyone.